I've said multiple times on this channel before throughout the months that I'm convinced that Nicola Sturgeon is nothing other than a UN puppet, and I really am convinced of that fact now. When she talks about a brighter future as an independent nation and proclaiming that we will be independent within the European Union, all joining together for the greater good and so on and so forth, she seems to have convinced some people with that gaff, but as far as I'm concerned it's just talk. For example, when you come to Sustainable Development Goal 10 that she seems to have taken some specific pride in, let's have a little look through all the points that need to be, all the targets that need to be met, within said goal. For example, it says by 2030 progressively achieve and sustain income growth of the bottom 40% of the population at a higher rate than the national average. Empower and promote social, economic and political inclusion of all, irrespective of age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion or economic or other status. Ensure equal opportunity and reduce inequalities, including by eliminating discriminatory laws, policies and practices and promoting appropriate legislation, etc. Adopt policies, especially fiscal, wage and social protections, and progressively achieve greater equality. Improve regulation and monitoring of global financial markets and institutions, strengthening implementation of such regulations. Ensure enhanced representation and voice for developed countries in decision making in global, international and economic and financial institutions in order to deliver more effective, credible, accountable and legitimate institutions. Now, sound familiar? Pretty much the whole time that Sturgeon has been in power, she's just been making her way quite the thing down this list. There's no independence within this. It's following orders, it's following an agenda. But yeah, she's got people fooled. Why do you think she's now wanting control over immigration? Because she's implemented her climate justice funds. Now she's wanting immigration controls. I did find this rather amusing to read, albeit I don't particularly think the claim is true regarding the Scottish visa making traction with the UK government, because let's face it, Scotland having free movement of people and separated from England, it would just become a global hub for people that come here to then enter England illegally. Nonetheless, I love this bit down here where it says the Scottish visa could emulate current freedom of movement from Europe and be opened up to further afield. What have I been saying for months? I have been saying that this very thing was what they really wanted when they talked about freedom of movement, and here we have them now starting to subtly admit that that's really what's going to end up happening. What they truly desire is to go further afield possibly, but yet they'll manage to convince people temporarily that it's just European freedom of movement that they are after. The reality of the matter, as I've said multiple times, this has got absolutely everything to do with following the point plan down to the finale. And of course, they don't have free movement of people at their disposal, therefore they can't implement and facilitate safe and regular and responsible migration. Passing an opportunity of designing the rules and criteria for the visa could allow us to expand it beyond the EU. Of course, because we are of course facing the end of free movement of people from the EEA. This is of particular interest to those who would want to continue to attract people from the rest of Europe, like you've been doing up until this point. Oh, I forgot, you've not been attracting enough, hence why you find yourself in a bit of a predicament right about now. So I ask again, what would you do that'd be different to what you've done previously? Oh yeah, that's right, going further afield. It's an absolute ruse. He said no cap on migrants is possible, adding currently the government has a cap on numbers, but that hasn't worked, and actually we need to grow our population in Scotland, and we're not going to incentivise native births. Oh no, we just want to keep the floodgates open because we're progressive and inclusive and welcoming and open. It's such bullshit. Globalist shells down to a T, because one of the number one aims of Agenda 2030 is depopulation, so they can't be incentivising native births. Oh no. Of course not. Can proclaim that England are planning to end free movement of people, and we desperately need free movement of people, therefore that's another reason to vote for independence, then my god, you are fooled. Because nobody seems to take a step back and look at it for what it is. They are responsible for the position that our population finds itself in, supposedly. Therefore, I don't really understand why anybody would want to reward these people with free movement of people at their disposal, because that's what they want. Therefore, a question arises. Was this deliberate, done by design? Of course it was, we all know that. They pretend otherwise. They proclaim that the migration that we need to see can't come into effect because of a xenophobic white paper post-Brexit. When the reality is they've had God knows how many years to incentivise native births, and or encourage more European immigration. But instead of that, what have they done? Nothing. The Scottish Government introduces bill to extend franchise. The Government has published legislation to extend the right to vote to the Scottish elections to citizens of all nationalities. It's already led the way by lowering the voting age, and we are building on the progress by extending the right to vote to everyone legally resident here. It's only fair that foreign nationals with the permanent right to live here, whether from EU countries or elsewhere, have the right to vote and stand as candidates in devolved elections. And what European immigrant living in Scotland is really going to vote to leave the EU, to remain part of the UK? Of course they're going to vote for staying in the EU or trying to get back into the EU even. Very clever. Very fucking clever. It's time that Scotland had the choice of a brighter future as an independent nation, able to chart our own future. Oh my, get fucked. We've already heard her singing the praises before about Ireland. Look at the state of Ireland. Look what's planned for Ireland. Of course, what about Sweden? Another one she sings the praises of. Oh yes. I can't wait to look like Sweden and Ireland. No going back for those countries. And this is exactly the garden path that she's going to take us down. She's so full of fucking shit. Explain to me how we are going to decide our own future as an independent nation when the UN has dictated what we must do and she is willing to follow every single order that comes her way.